G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright, people, review of the week time. I always like to start these with good news, but this one right here, it's been a bit of a weird week, hasn't it? It seems like last week was a kind of week where the fights we want, it just seemed like every kind of fight that we wanted, just the can's getting kicked down the road or nothing's happening at all. And this one here specifically, I mean, the news of this broke on my goddamn birthday of all days. The fight that I want more than any fight, Spence versus Terence Crawford, is now reportedly in serious jeopardy due to disagreements in the contracts over transparency relation to the event expenses. It's now claimed that if the fight does get made, it won't be, I think it was November 19th was the original date. They're looking at December or January now. Like, that's okay as long as the fight gets made. I just hope that this doesn't mean that we're in a really bad situation. Terence Crawford recently agreed to take a smaller purse with no guaranteed money in the Errol Spence deal, but wants transparency related to the event, related to event expenses and the ability to approve expenses. Dispute is holding up the fight. Oh man. I really hope this fight gets made. I really, really do. At the end of the day, you know, it was obvious that Spence was going to be the A side going into this. That to me was obvious. I just hope that this fight does get made. I really do. I hope they can come to an agreement. I hope both parties will be happy with it and we can get this fight over the line. Because to me, Spence Crawford, welterweight is a division which it always produces tremendous talents. It always has tremendous fighters. But with Spence and Crawford, it's like, well, you look at the welterweight division now, it's a very talented division. But those two are the cream of the crop. You know, Boots Ennis is brilliant. You know, Ortiz is brilliant. There's great guys, contenders. Even Keith Thurman, I think, probably still has a bit of life in him. They're always as good fighters, but these two are the cream of the crop. And I want to see these two fight more than anything. And it's weird because I wrecked my brain trying to think who I would pick between the two. For the longest time I've been saying Crawford. But do you know what I'm worried about? The longer they leave this fight and the longer it gets drawn out, the older Crawford is. I think Crawford's in his mid-30s now, and he's been out of the ring for, well, by the time November comes around, it'll be a year. So if we're talking December, January, probably January, be even further than that. So I do wonder how that would affect him. Spence, obviously, he's had the fight this year against Jordanis Ugas, where he looked fantastic in it, just like the old Spence. The inactivity wouldn't really play a factor. I mean, Crawford is more a boxer than Spence. You know, he's so meticulous in what he does, his timing, everything. Spence can box, we know that. But when Spence is really attacking someone going to the body, he's got a stationary target. The timing doesn't really come into it. It's more so his accuracy, which is very good, and his shot selection, which is brilliant. So I think the inactivity would affect Crawford more than it would Spence. So that kind of has me kind of thinking, oh, how would it go then? And it's a fight I really want to see. And I really, truly hope that this is a minor blimp. A minor little stumbling block in the road. Nothing too major. Nothing too serious. And we can still get this fight over the line. Because I really, really want to see this fight so goddamn bad. I really want to see it. Another fight which, well, we knew it wasn't going to happen when it should have happened, but we did think it was going to get rescheduled, was Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara. It's reportedly not going to be rescheduled, and Wood is going to fight Santa Cruz instead for the WBA's featherweight world title. After all, it seems that the unification, which was going to be Santa Cruz versus Vargas, is not going to happen. Ah, man. I really wanted to see Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara. I really wanted to see that fight. And that fight right there would have been that really would have saved last week's card, because the DAZN card, in my opinion, was not that good. The one that had Maxi Hughes and Kit Galahad headline was not that good. It was not a strong card. That was the original main event, and it would have been a very, very good main event. And it would have really hurt Joe Parker versus Joe Joyce, because that was the fight it was going up against. And, two big heavyweights going at it is good, and it was a great fight. But those two, with their styles, you could guarantee fireworks. And I think that it would have been interesting. It would have been a very interesting fight. So Lee Wood, Lara, that ain't gonna happen. Let's say it won't happen at all, but it certainly seems like it's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. And of course, as I said, I would have loved to have seen that fight. So we go on to the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury situation. Seems like this is all we talked about last week. We won't stick at it long, but Tyson Fury released a statement on Anthony Joshua. Manuel Char is saying that, Tyson Fury is ducking him. I mean, really? Does he believe that? He don't believe that. Manuel Char. Behind the gloves, Eddie Hearn confirmed that he insists the contract is still going back and forth between camps and won't be signed. This was a couple of days ago, but he said they're getting there. It's not a million miles away. I seen Gareth A. Davis. I think it was Gareth A. Davis saying that he thinks it's Hearn that is, causing the issues. I mean, from my point of view, and look, I'm no lover of Eddie Hearn, anything like that, no fanboy of him, never met him. It seems to me, I've said this once, I'll say it again, from the outside looking in, it just seems like Fury is doing everything in his power, not because he's afraid of Joshua, to make it as difficult as it can for them to agree to this fight, and setting deadlines that are never going to be met, if you know what I mean. Like, it has to be signed by this date, when it clearly won't happen, and using that as ammo to just say, see, he's ducking me. But I've noticed on a lot of Tyson Fury's posts and videos, people they're not buying it. As much as Tyson Fury wants to try and say, AJ's ducking me, the people who have any sense will know that this isn't a duck. It's not. It seems to me from the outside looking, you're just making it difficult for him to sign. And again, there's no AJ fanboy or anything like that. I'm just saying it as I see it. That's what it looks like to me. And look, if we get Tyson Fury versus Manuel Char, I really, really, really don't want to see that fight. I'd rather just not see anything at all. I'd rather just alright, you're not fighting Joshua now. Right, let's get the Usyk fight over the line. Let's just go get the Usyk fight over the line. Let's get Undisputed made. Let's stop messing around. Let's just get Undisputed made, get it over the line. Happen in 2023. We've been waiting goddamn so long for it. We've had all these blips come up between arbitrations, mandatories, etc. There's nothing in the way now. The longer we leave it, the more issues we will have with mandatories cropping up and stuff like that. Obviously Joe Joyce is now the interim champion of the WBO. Frank Warren will push that. He will push the you-know-what out of that. And the WBO and Frank Warren, they're like that. So before any of this starts getting in the way, let's get this made. Now, Eddie Hearn has been talking about November 26th for Dillian White. So he's planning Dillian White's next fight. Now, Dillian White, we haven't heard anything from him. He was at, I think it was the show in Liverpool at the start of September. Dillian White was at that show. And Sky just asked him about his next move. And he was basically saying, in the next week, we'll have an announcement. Well, it's been a month now and we haven't heard anything. So we didn't hear what platform it's going to be on, which promoter it's going to be on, etc. So Eddie Hearn has revealed that they're looking at the Wembley Arena for Dillian White's next fight. The Wembley Arena is not the O2. It's a lot smaller. So Dillian White, with the right dance partner, could do the O2. But I don't know if his star is going to be shining as bright. He's named Otto Verleen, Jermaine Franklin, Dempsey McKean, and Chris Arreola as potential opponents. The only one of them that I'd be semi-interested to see is Otto Verleen. I think he beats Franklin, I think he beats McKean, and he definitely beats Arreola. The rumor mill I've heard is that the Dubois fight is still on the table. I think for Dillian White, and maybe as well for Joseph Parker, that fight to me, just for both guys, just seems to make the most sense. Just from a business point of view and just from every point of view, because I can't see Joe Parker really doing that much in terms of getting big fights at heavyweight and, you know, really doing that much after the Joe Joyce fight. I think Dillian White is, logically, that's probably the best move for both guys. And the winner, you know, it does give them one last bite at the cherry. Maybe not necessarily for a world title fight, but it definitely puts them in good position to bargain. But it gives them one last run, if you know what I mean, the winner. I think Parker would still beat Dillian White now at this stage. Obviously, Dillian White won the first fight, very competitive, very close. But I think that Joseph Parker probably has more in the tank. Maybe not after that Joe Joyce fight, but you never know. Eddie Hearn has also said that George Warren, no, I was going to say Frank Warren, George Warren, he's had talks with him. An offer was made to John Ryder for the Zach Parker fight. Hearn added that he's also been offered a fight with Edgar Berlanga and will choose between the two. I mean, Edgar Berlanga versus John Ryder. John Ryder beats Edgar Berlanga. Honestly, John Ryder beats him. He might even stop Berlanga. Berlanga, he has looked so shaky and so dodgy his last few fights. Honestly, John Ryder, I'd pick him over Berlanga. In terms of him versus Parker, I'd still pick him over Parker too. I think John Ryder is a very good fighter. It doesn't surprise me that Demetrius Andre didn't take the fight because of the money that was on the table. I wonder, would John Ryder, not that he's afraid of Zach Parker, but if you're only talking, what, 100 grand, thereabouts, a little bit more than that, would he be willing to go in there with Zach Parker? And of course, the Berlanga fight would be a top rank show. If he's getting more money there, you know, you get a higher ranking with the WBO, I suppose, for the interim title with the WBO, isn't it? It's an interesting one. Eddie Hearn was, he gave a good IFL interview, and he gave another interview with pro boxing fans. He's been talking about all these fights. He said that Oscar Rivas is likely going to be ordered to defend his WBC. I just find this division just so laughable, but the WBC Bridgerweight belt against Alan Babbage next could potentially happen in November. Alan Babbage, Jesus, we've heard nothing about him over the last few months since he had that fight back in the summer. Was it the start of summer? Sometime in around then. We've heard virtually nothing from him. And I really did think that Eddie Hearn would get Babbage out, if not on the Katie Taylor card, on the Eubank Benn card, which we'll talk about now in a wee bit. I really did think he would, because Babbage will put eyes on an event. He will. I wouldn't pick Alan Babbage over Oscar Rivas, truth be told. I think that Babbage, it's funny, it's funny, but it's weird, isn't it? He is almost look, I've said this for a while. I've been predicting this for a while now, that Babbage is going to get knocked out sooner or later, and probably not at a very high level. So obviously Oscar Rivas, I hope I didn't say Valdez, is a much higher level than anyone Babbage has fought. Much higher. So he would, in my opinion, absolutely take Babbage's head clean off his shoulders. Babbage has just look, I've always felt that Babbage is an accident waiting to happen. He's so easy to hit, he's so easy to counter in time, that if you had someone with good time and reflexes, he'd light him up like a Christmas tree. But the way he's been forcing his work and having injuries, he's almost looked jaded without ever really being... his last fight was tough, he was down, but without ever really looking in trouble in any fights prior to the last one, although saying that the one he had last December, he was in trouble there as well. But he's almost looked jaded, like a jaded fighter, if you know what I mean. And this isn't a fighter who's had wars at world level. These guys he's beaten, the Shondell Winters of the world, the Tom Littles of the world. Who else did he fight? Who was the guy? The Mark Bennett. That guy just took it like Homer Simpson, just Homer Simpson being a boxer. There was another guy as well. The guy in December, was he French? But he was a big guy, a big unit of a man. And he wasn't very good, but he was able to buzz Babbage bad. And these are the guys he's going life to death with. It's crazy. And yeah, it's crazy. Sonny Edwards will defend his title against Felix Alvarado on November the 11th up in, that said Sheffield? Yeah, Sheffield. Alright, we'll see Sonny Edwards out there against Alvarado. My American fans, my American friends over there, I can't tell you how bad I feel reading this. The Deontay Wilder Robert Helenius pay-per-view, $74.99 US dollars. That is crazy. That is crazy. 75 quid to watch Deontay Wilder fight Robert Helenius. That is crazy. I can't quite get over. Like, I know we over here tend to moan, and we do when we get, you know, a pay-per-view and it's say like 25 quid or 27.99 like the Joshua Usyk fight was. And then you look at the States and you're just like, 75 quid. I mean, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy over there. Wilder versus Helenius. I don't think that a broadcaster has been picked yet in the UK. It's not going to be on DAZN, I know that. I hope it's not good. Sky Sports normally made an effort to show Wilder fights, so I wouldn't be shocked if they picked that up, but I hope it doesn't end on something like Fight TV or something like that, because I'd do a watch along for that. But I'm not going to do a watch along if I'm going to have to be streaming it, you know, because I don't want it freezing or anything like that in the middle of a live, if you know what I mean. So that's going to be crazy. It's crazy. I can't get over how much they spent on that. Let's have a look at some of the boxing scene articles. Let's have a look-see. Luis Nery blasts out David Kimona in 3 rounds. I mean, Luis Nery, I mean, he's looked not the best as of late, but David Kimona, I mean, he arguably beat Quadras many years ago. I think that was 2017. But that was pretty much it. He took a terrible beating off in Niue, but he went 12 rounds with him. And since then, he's just stopped by a fight. He's not really been the force. Well, he's never really a force, but just crazy. It's crazy that people are still recycling him. Zoda Ramirez, I believe I'm the best light heavyweight and Bivol is the second best. That's going to come up fairly quick. You know, we will not miss November 5th coming, and that is seriously going to be a good fight. I cannot wait. Honestly, I cannot wait for Zordo versus Bivol. That is going to be so good. That's going to be such a fun fight. Bivol is never normally in... Look, Bivol is what Bivol is. He's a great boxer. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea in terms of value for money, but I think him against Zordo is going to be a tremendous fight. Alexander Vodcek preparing for a comeback. Let's have another look at this. I did see Outmatch make a video on this. I haven't had a chance to actually watch it yet, but he retired, I think it was 2019 after he lost to Beterbiev. Yeah, it was built to speed versus power. He retired after that, and he's back in training now and potentially looking to come back in 2023. That's interesting. You know, Vodcek almost capitulated mentally, which in my opinion is worse than capitulating physically, in that Beterbiev fight. That was 3 years ago. I wonder how is he going to be coming back. I mean, Vodcek looked pretty good throughout his career without ever looking spectacular, if you know what I mean. Very good friends with Usyk and Lomachenko from that kind of Ukrainian boxing family with, you know, Anatoly Lomachenko there. Alright, we'll see how that goes. I'd be interested to see how he looks coming back. After 3 years away, look, he never took a serious beating in his career. You know, he only had about 18 fights, so let's see. Let's see how that goes. And yeah, we'll see exactly how that goes. We'll end it on this because there's not really any major articles on boxing scene. But Eubank versus Benn is this week, and we're going to talk about that. So Chris Eubank has been he's been carrying on the trolling. You know, he was on Good Morning Britain and he was wearing a shirt that said 60% baby. He really is looking at this whole Conor Benn situation, just from the outside looking in, as if he's taking candy from a baby. When Vladimir Klitschko was getting ready to fight Anthony Joshua, and obviously this was very much, this was a fight that really, look, I was favouring Klitschko heavily in that fight going into it. But I knew Joshua was game. I knew Joshua would be live. I didn't rule out him winning, but if I'd been making videos at the time, I would have been picking Klitschko every day of the week. That's just how I felt it would go. And Klitschko almost had the look of taking candy from a baby and playing a few mind games with Joshua. And that's kind of how it looked. It's similar to me from the outside looking in with this. Although with this, I'm even more sure about my pick in picking Eubank to win. I genuinely, like, I'm doing a prediction video tomorrow that will go up on the channel tomorrow evening. But for me, from the outside looking in, I can see how ways Conor Benn can have success in here, certainly. But for me, it just looks like a clear-cut Eubank win. I know you should never say it's a definite clear-cut win because things can change. It is boxing at the end of the day. But I really can't see how Conor Benn wins this fight. But I really, at the end of the day, can't see what you... Look, other than money, I don't see how Eubank gains anything from this fight other than a big payday. That's it. That's literally it. Payday, there you go. Happy out. I've beaten up a welterweight. See you later. This is not going to catapult him into world title honours. This is not going to have Canelo Alvarez saying, never mind Bivol, I must fight you. It's not going to do anything like that. It is literally just beating up a welterweight. That's what I'm seeing it as. Some people could say, gee, no. It's going to be better than this. He's going to do better than that. Look, I wish Conor Benn all the best, but I just can't. I think that the size discrepancy is going to be too big. I don't think Eubank is the biggest puncher in the world, but the fact of the matter is Eubank's never been in there with anyone who can even crack remotely. Or not Eubank, Benn's never been in there with anyone who can crack remotely, and Eubank hits hard enough. I mean, George Groves even said it like that. He's not the biggest puncher in the world, but you feel there is power there. Not probably like Carl Froch power, but power there. So you don't want to just leave your chin out. That's George Groves, 168 pounder, a big one. And Conor Benn, someone who the biggest puncher he's probably fought has been Cedric Payne now down at welterweight. I just can't see how Conor Benn will take these shots from Eubank. He might prove me wrong. He may very well prove me wrong. Who knows? In terms of Conor Benn's power, again, like, you can look, George Groves buzzed Eubank several times in the fight, dropped him, should have had a knockdown in the second round, his knee touched. But that's George Groves, a massive 168 pounder who's hurt Carl Froch. We know how tough Carl Froch is, worse than anybody. If Eubank is taking his power, I'm sorry, but Conor Benn, it's not even on the same level. It's not even on the same stratosphere as a George Groves. If Eubank can take that, then he'll be fine with Conor Benn. Unless Eubank has regressed dramatically over the last few years, there may be. And here is something that actually we need to think about, and I'll talk more about this in the prediction video. Eubank hasn't really been on the big stage for a couple of years. Big stage. Pay-per-view, headlining, in a fight that it's not necessarily how would you describe it? It's not a world title fight. It's not going to give him more than likely a world title fight. It's not really going to give him anything other than the payday and bragging rights. But we've seen Eubank bottle it on the big stage before, which we have. Billy Joe, more so George Groves. The pressure getting to him. And he was very similar in, certainly the George Groves fight, more so. Very overconfident, very dismissive. But when he got in the ring, everything he was talking about, the overconfidence, the very dismissive attitude, that wasn't there on fight night. It seemed like it was someone who was trying in the build-up to convince himself this was going to be an easier fight than it was. And when he got into the ring, he had his come-to-Jesus moment. Where everything just kind of got on top of him. Would that happen again? Because if that's happened to him twice, it didn't happen against James DeGale, but that was a very poor James DeGale. And I don't think he had as much pressure in the DeGale fight as he did with this one. I really don't. I think with this one, he is going to feel it. He is going to absolutely feel it. And how will he cope mentally with that? We'll talk more about that in the prediction video tomorrow, because I don't want to go and do a prediction video in a review of the week when I've got a prediction video tomorrow to talk about. So I'll save it till then. I'm going to call it there. I hope you enjoyed it. Smash the like button, of course, as always, people, if you could. I hope that this gets you through your Monday morning, get you set up for the week. I hope we have a good week this week. Can't get any worse than last week. So I hope we have a good one for everyone this week, and yeah, I hope we all get some good news. We're all due it. It might be getting darker out at night. We're coming into October, but that doesn't mean our days can't be still bright, you know? So hopefully all's going to go well. And yeah, smash the like button on the way out. Getting closer to 10k. Let's get it by the end of the year. Let's do it. Leave you with that, people. Obviously, I'm going to be doing a lot of videos on Benn Eubank this week. It's fight week, so I'm going to rinse the shit out of Benn Eubank this week, amongst other news, of course, as well. So we'll see how this goes. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Smash the like button if you could. I'll talk to these people as always. Peace.